Turning to the FBI, which is now facing a lawsuit after labeling fans of a rap group as a gang. The FBI designated juggalos, fans of the face-painted Insane Clown Posse band, as a hybrid gang in its 2011 National Gang Threat Assessment Report. The ACLU of Michigan has now joined the group and 4 of its fans in suing the FBI and the Department of Justice, arguing that the gang label is unwarranted and that it's negatively affected the band's business and the lives of their fans. We're joined from Southfield, Michigan by Faris Haddad. He is an attorney representing the Insane Clown Posse in its lawsuit. He considers himself a juggalo, having been a fan of the group since he was 12 years old. Faris, good to have you with us. So if following the FBI's reasoning, you're a juggalo, so does that make you a gang member?
I guess that makes me a gang member who happens to be a lawyer. Early on when this case started, they coined me the Jugga Lawyer. But there's juggalos who are they're just everyday Americans. There's registered nurses. There's several police officers that I've interviewed. There's several people who work your normal 9-to-5 job. There's professors. There's doctors. So I guess we're all part of some loosely organized hybrid gang according to the FBI, and that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of and change.
So the most obvious question is, how do you just designate hundreds of thousands of people as being part of a gang for liking a band?
That's a good question. We're very perplexed by it. The first lawsuit that we filed back in 2012 was because we did exactly a Freedom of Information Act request to find that out. What we finally got after a lot of hard work was stuff that was totally unrelated to anything that would be considered an organized criminal gang. And really, what we found was there was certain crimes, random crimes around the country with people who happened to be wearing an ICP t-shirt or have an ICP logo on their MySpace page, and the police said that they were part of this group, and that's why they committed vandalism or larceny or something like that.
Well, in that gang threat assessment in 2011, the FBI cited a robbery and a beating of a homeless man by a pair of juggalos. They also cited a juggalo who shot and wounded a couple in Washington State. Another number of states have reported criminal activities by juggalos. But has there been any organized group criminal activity that would lead the FBI to label the group as a gang?
Not that we know of. None that the FBI has reported to us, and again, we've tried very hard to get that information from them.
So why do you think why do you think they did it? And has any other band's fans been targeted in a similar way?
Well, here's what I liken it to, Antonio, and basically, there's millions of deadheads, and obviously the deadheads are, there was at one point an investigation by the FBI into some fans that consider themselves deadheads selling LSD at concerts, and that's about the closest there's been. There's never been something this serious as a gang classification, but you can sort of look at it like hippies in general, or the punk rock movement, because juggalos are really sort of a subculture that has formed itself around a genre of music, and people are scared of it's not mainstream music, obviously, and if the FBI labeled all hippies a gang, I think people would think that was ridiculous, and since they don't know what juggalos are, they hesitate, and they're not sure whether this is right or wrong. But I have several examples that I can give you, such as the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, of the ways that this has really affected people in ways that you probably can't even imagine, Antonio.
You know, I want to get to those stories in a minute, but we have a question from social media. Let's go to Jana for that.
Sure.
Twitter user Maverick Dragon wrote into us to say, I know a few juggalos, they consider themselves a gang, they tag the logo and cover up for each other's criminal acts. Faris, you're a self-proclaimed juggalo. How do you react to this?
Well, it's, there's different reports, whether there's hundreds of thousands of juggalos internationally or whether there's millions, and with any group of people, you might have some that consider, you could have fans of gangster rap, for instance, and you might have some that consider themselves real gangsters. That doesn't mean that everybody is a gangster, and the way that that's affecting ordinary people is basically There's people who are trying to enlist in the Army, such as Scott Gandy, who is a plaintiff in the case, and are being denied enlisting in the Army. There's people who, there's people who have lost custody of their children because they listen to ICP, or they have an ICP T-shirt on, or they paint their faces once in a while. So this has really affected people in ridiculous ways. I mean, even myself, I could technically lose my law license because I could be considered gang affiliated, or wearing gang apparel for wearing an ICP T-shirt, or listening to their music, or going to a concert.
And I know some of the band's concerts have been affected too. What damages are you seeking from the FBI and the Justice Department?
We're not seeking any financial or compensation at all. We're just trying to stop the bleeding so that people stop getting harassed, people stop losing their jobs and losing their careers. People are able to freely, they shouldn't be afraid to listen to music in this country. They shouldn't be afraid to like a certain type of art or genre of music. So we're only seeking relief. The only relief that we're seeking is to be removed from the federal gang list, the FBI gang list.
All right, Faris Haddad, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Antonio.
Time now to see what's trending on Al Jazeera America's website. Let's check back in with Jana.